I've been thinking lately about the overemphasis that we place on work and jobs and career, and how that's really can be a detriment to ourselves. And I feel that the importance that is placed is evident in a lot of different situations. So, one that really comes to mind is when someone asks you, "Hey, tell me a bit about yourself." We tend to default to, my name's Emily. I am a therapist working with this demographic. I work at this industry or company, and blah, blah, blah. And then we might go into other aspects of our identities, such as, our family, our love to travel, things like that. But our default is usually work. When somebody asks, "Tell me a bit about yourself," their expectation is you're going to be talking about your work, and we deliver on that expectation. And that's super common in Canada and the US, but I've heard that it's not as common in other parts of the world. If you were to just go like, "Oh, I'm a therapist," they'd be like, "Okay, that's what you do for a living, but that's not who you are." But what I find with our society is we've really wrapped up our work into like who we are. It's part of our identity. It's almost seen as the most important part of our identity sometimes. And the problem with this is that when we wrap up our identity so closely with our work, it can cause a lot of difficulties, such as if we were to lose our position, be laid off, it can cause us a tailspin, or we might work extremely hard to succeed in our position to the detriment of our own health and well being, such as, with a burnout, for instance. And it starts so young. It really starts young. And I think about children. It always feels like we're preparing them for something. We're preparing them for the real world. And when we mean by real world, we tend to mean the work world, right? The world of work. And so when they're young, we're preparing them to go to primary school. When from primary school, we're preparing them to go to high school. High school, we're preparing them to go to the job market or to post secondary. And then from post secondary, we are preparing them to go to the workforce. So from a very young age, we're like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Right? When they're in kindergarten, we're like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And they're like, "I want to be," man, me back in the day, and the millennials will resonate with this. We all want to be marine biologist, right? Marine biology, that was the goal. I loved dolphins. A lot of us love dolphins. My friend Marion loved orcas. Obviously, I'm not a marine biologist. I don't think most of us became marine biologists, but it's just funny because we almost primed them for that so young. And even like in high school, it's like in high school, figure out what you want to do with well, it feels like it's the rest of your life, right? Figure out what you want to go study and go study that. What are your interests? And they're like, "I can't even decide what time I wake up in the morning, and you want me to know what my interests are to become a career." It's overwhelming. And then you make a decision and you go do the studies. And for me, for instance, doing a bachelor's degree was 4 years in psychology. And what if you don't like it? What if you do the course and you're like, "Yeah, I don't like it." You leave, you go start working, and you're like, "Not for me." Thanks, but no thanks. And that happens. I have people who I did my studies with who aren't even working within the psychology field or any social sciences, and that's totally fine. I'm happy they found what actually works for them. But it can almost feel like it's time of your life that's gone. And sometimes we don't know, but we're kind of pushed to make a decision. Um, and so then when you make a decision, and let's say one day you decide to pivot, it almost feels like you're starting from ground zero. You have to maybe relearn things, go back to school. Um, and that can be really hard on our mental well being. Some people will be like, "Well, I did 4 years of university for this, so I'm going to just stay in it." It's the sunk cost fallacy, right? I already put so much time and effort and money into this. I'm going to just do it, which is not always the best way to do things. And we can kind of feel like we're stuck. There's no escape. But that's what happens when we value our education and career more than ourselves, right? And for me as a therapist, I work with a lot of career issues. And I've really stopped asking just like, what do you want to do as a job? Because career satisfaction is so much more linked to actual values. Like, what do you value? What kind of life do you want to lead? Is this work going to allow you to live that life? Because, and this is like a shocker idea, you're gonna be like, whoa, that's the whole point? We're not meant to just work, like it's not just to work to live. Like, the work that we do is supposed to fund our life. It's supposed to, like, so the money will obviously pay for the groceries and the home and all that, but also our other things that we have interest in. So maybe it's vacationing or other hobbies or whatever. So it's the work is supposed to fund your life. But the demands of work have gotten so much harder over the last decades that we get home and we're just exhausted. And we have no time or energy for anything else. And a lot of us actually forgot what we enjoy. Like, when I ask people, what do you like to do for hobbies, or when you're just by yourself, and it's like, I'm so dead, Emily, that I just want to scroll. And like, that's honestly was me too. I was just so tired that I would fall asleep on the couch. I had no capacity to even think about activities I'd want to do. And I would just be, if I wasn't at work, I was worrying about work. And I'm like, and that was like for any job, even like when I worked at, not just in therapy, when I worked pushing papers too. And it's kind of funny for me to talk about how I think we put too much emphasis on work and career, because my own background is I used to work for an employment center as a job developer and as an employment counselor. And I even worked at like St. Lawrence College, like as a therapist, helping people with their school and then possible like next steps after school. And even as a recruiter, I worked as a recruiter, um, to, with the employers and the job seekers. So yes, work is a part of our lives. It's a big part of our lives, but it's not the only part of our lives. But there's this expectation of do it all, you know, do all these things that we're wanting you to do, but also like it's your responsibility to meet all of your also personal needs. So, um, which I just think is so lost in translation. It makes no sense. Sorry, I'm rambling on just a little bit because I've been like toying with these ideas for a couple of days now. Well, a long time, but I've been thinking about it a bit more prominently the last couple of days. And I just wanted to share it on here. Now, I am going to have more structured videos coming up. I do have one coming up, which, spoiler alert, is going to be how work-life balance is a lie. So that one's going to be pretty controversial. And then I'm going to have some other structured ones coming. But I'm also wondering if it would be beneficial to continue these little sit down videos where I'm just kind of sharing what I'm thinking about and what's coming up for me. Let me know in the comments down below what you would like to see. And I'd also like to hear your own thoughts on what I discussed today. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.